One of the most difficult struggles of this channel is to communicate an idea that instinctively feels excessive, feels like hyperbole. And the reason why this idea feels extreme is because you don't want to believe that this idea describes reality. So when I say the dominant force of 50% of America's political system, the quote-unquote left, is evil, well, at least here in America, our culture has been subject to a form of moral relativism that has continually taught us that there's no such thing as these extremes, these good and evil, for 30, 40 years. Our culture has rejected a sort of cultural conservatism, rejected traditionalism, rejected rigidity itself, objectivity perhaps. And thus, when I say something is evil, people think that sounds extreme, that sounds like hyperbole, that sounds excessive, that sounds bigoted, right? Bigoted. Well, the reason for that is that conservatism, traditionalism, rigidity has done us wrong and has prevented equal rights, has prevented egalitarianism, which I believe is the premier first priority principle of all human governance, of all our society, is that we are all treated equally under the law. And then we have arguments of what should be law and what should be up to personal choice. I personally am a libertarian centrist, perhaps. I believe I'm a centrist because I have some ideas that are expressly conservative and some dogmatically conservative. And I have some ideas that I will not be dispossessed of, which are, as far as the definition goes, expressly liberal. That there are certain things that are considered degenerate or considered nigh universally harmful that I believe people have a right to do. That their choice to do these things shall not be infringed. And perhaps, and this is where we get into this sort of freakish leftist repulsive fear of certain conversations. Take this one, for instance. Being gay is abnormal. Being gay is not normal. This is a fact. It's not up for debate. Gay people are somewhere between 2 and 8% of the population at best, depending on who you don't count as gay, bisexuals, bicurious people, and so forth. The rest of the population, in a species that is biologically designed to sexually dimorphic reproduction, two of the same sex, preoccupied with having sex of that same sex, is not normal. This is one of the things I was banned from Twitter for saying. Like being transgender, having an incorrigible delusion that you are not the gender that you physically are. This is not normal, and it is in fact less normal than being gay. Less than 1% of the population is transgender, while quite possibly 8 out of 100 motherfuckers is gay, or some variant thereof, bisexual, whatever the fuck. This makes people freak the fuck out. And the reason why it makes people freak the fuck out, ladies and gentlemen, is because not normal, they start thinking about the Jews are not normal, and Hitler genocided the Jews, or fucking the black people are not normal, like only white people are normal. And they start thinking in these postmodernist, progressive, dogmatic terms that make no sense. And I just want to redirect you, and I've mentioned this before, and I hope it becomes a trope, a meme, a cliche on this channel, is that Seinfeld scene where Seinfeld says, "No, I'm not gay." Not that there's anything wrong with being gay. If being transgender is not toxic to the environment, is not toxic to your social circle, it doesn't hurt you or anybody else, especially if it doesn't hurt anybody but you, then nobody should give a fuck. Part of having a minarchist, libertarian, pro-liberty, minimal force idea of society and politics means that if it's not fucking with me, I don't care. I pay it no mind because I mind my own business. This, I believe, is the pinnacle of morality. To be concerned properly with what is worth being concerned about, and to disregard what does not matter. Representation does not matter. Diversity does not matter. Fucking your race does not matter. Your gender does not matter. Your sex does not matter. Your fucking religion does not matter unless your religion involves dictates and dogmas in which you are required to kill people or fuck with other people otherwise. That does matter. Otherwise, if you want to worship trees or frogs or your own dick, I don't care. It's not my business, you understand? So, the reason why the left is evil is because the entirety of the left is concerned with my business. Now, my business should be of no concern to any human being of any persuasion who is a stranger to me, who the ripples of my life effects do not affect. So, if I worship something and it doesn't affect you, you should not care. If I want to fuck something that does not affect you, you should not care. If I want to dress in a way that does not affect you, you should not care. If I want to say something that does not affect you, and believe me, there is very few things in this fucking universe that anybody says at any given time that actually has a demonstrable harm on your person. Threats of direct violence, direct slander or libel, almost anything but that, actually, get this, leftists, doesn't affect you at all. If somebody says, "I hate niggers," believe it or not, it doesn't affect you, even if you're black. Now get this. This paranoid fear is what causes the recoil from this. You think of some slack-jawed, yokel, redneck, white trash, piece of fucking garbage, cracker, honky, worthless human being types on his phone, which is a privilege that none of us respect. The internet is a privilege that none of us respect at all. And he types into the Twitterverse, or the Facebookverse, or the Instagramverse, "I hate niggers." This affects literally nobody. In fact, if the President of the United States says that, the effect is not as much as you might think. Because "I hate" is not the same as "I will." If I say "I will enact a campaign of deliberate discrimination against all black people across the fucking world," that is different than "I really don't like black people," or "I don't like black culture." But this sense of perception is completely not allowed to be talked about, because we interpret, even if you're scared of not just a black person, but a black person who is in gang colors, who appears like he might have a weapon, whose posture is aggressive and threatening, because we human beings are apes, and if you have your shoulders up, and your arms out, and your head forward, and you're frowning, that's actually aggressive. And if one of these people is walking down the street, even if he's minding his own business, but his posture is like this, and he dresses like this, and he's wearing the uniform of a gang member, in a gang that is known for killing people by the fucking dozen, if I cross the street just to be out of the path of this man, that's not racist in the fucking slightest. But apparently, we're not allowed to say such things. This is at the core of the evil of the left. The left will not let anybody tell the truth. And the left is preoccupied with lying. I've been trying to tell you for years now that all progressives do is lie. They lie and never tell the truth without any exception whatsoever. You show me an utterance, a fucking string of words from a progressive, and I'll show you how it's either a bold-faced lie, an obfuscation of the truth, a changing of the subject, a shifting of the goalpost, a fallacy of the excluded middle, a straw man, or any combination thereof. They are incorrigible fucking liars. They are delusional and they are cultists. They are possessed by a religious dogma that promotes an incorrigible fuck delusion. This is why people like Jordan Peterson are important, and why I cannot stand these smug, elitist pricks, these self-important fucks, who just because they're possessing of some intelligence bordering on my own or there above, manages to say, hey, what Jordan Peterson says is common sense. Why are we patting a man on the back for saying something that is common sense? Well, that's because you, as an intelligent, forward-thinking person who dissects the consequences of concepts like free speech versus censorship, need to realize that there are people walking around chest-slapping fucking retards who think that they're witty by uttering the phrase freeze peach, like to reduce the temperature of a tropical fucking fruit, is to make fun of free speech. That free speech is so not worthy of consideration as an important societal principle that I would compare it for some fucking unknown reason to frozen fruit products. These people number in the hundreds of fuck millions. I'm sorry to tell you, to quote George Carlin, if you ever want to despair of humanity, consider how stupid the average person is, and then realize that half of all humanity is more retarded than that guy. Common sense is in fact apparently not common. And I'll tell you why. Because we used to have a societal hierarchical structure where leaders, the powerful, the intelligent, the wise, the industrious, the rich, the wealthy, the successful, told us, here is what success is, here is how to obtain success. It's sort of like the Jedi fucking Star Wars proverb of the Sith, that there's one to embody power, to have power, and one to crave it and to have the ambition to claim it. That is what has produced successful Western culture. That there is a man worthy of respect and a populace that respects him and aspires to be like him. And now we have this relativist culture where it's like, fuck everything, fuck everybody, fuck science, fuck capitalism, fuck trade, fuck respect, fuck free speech, fuck liberty, fuck freedom of consumption, fuck freedom of production, fuck freedom of speech, fuck freedom of the press, fuck freedom of movement, fuck freedom of fucking everything. We have the entire left who wants to do the opposite of everything that has made humanity successful for the past 150 to 3,000 years, depending on how you look at it. The reason why you have an iPhone, the reason why you are watching me, this complete nobody fucking stranger from nowhere. I live in some fucking random place in Florida. I don't know where the fuck you are. You could be in another goddamn country. You could be physically on the other side of the world of me, like in Fiji or some shit, and you are watching me in real time explain some measure of wisdom to you. This is something that nobody has any respect or gratitude or perception of the value of, that I can do this. And that in fact, the danger that I can do this, because I am not wealthy, I am not powerful, I'm not a general or a king or a president or a patriarch, I am none of the above, I am fucking nobody. And the fact that I can do this is part of the reason why the left is evil, because a bunch of selfish, sadistic, pathological, dishonest, disingenuous, vicious, and hateful bigots figured out that if they lie and accuse their opponents of every sin that is of their nature, everything evil that they are, if they say, I am everything against sin and evil, and my opponent is everything sin and evil, and they manage to seize not the means of production, but the means of dissemination of information, like the internet, like Twitter, like Facebook, like cable news. And they lie so much that everybody believes them. You see this vast approaching wave of leftist, democratic, socialist evil. In fact, I've explained at length in previous videos that the left is currently fascist, and that it is something that seizes through force the power to control the liberty or lack thereof of everybody else, and then uses it selfishly and sadistically and unfairly. That is the definition of fascism, and it is the definition of every single fucking thing that the left wing is doing across the goddamn Western world right the fuck now. So, whenever I hear Antifa, we're the good guys because we're fighting fascism. No, you're the fucking devil because you are the direct fucking synonymous embodiment of fascism. Antifa is fascist. Progressivism is regressive and primitive and evil. The Democratic Party of America, and previously and subsequently in varying levels of severity across Europe and the rest of the Western world, I mean, throughout most of Europe, progressive fascism is worse. In Canada, it is worse than it is in America. America, who, since this worthless piece of shit who was a bad example of what good quality conservatism could and would be, George W. Bush, one of the most evil fucking presidents of the past 70 fucking years, besides Barack Obama, how's that for enlightened centrism? Because of that man's blunders, both superficial and meaningless, and yet considered of meaning to a retarded, vapid, empty-headed, superficial, like I said, populace, as well as his direct, demonstrable, quantitative acts of evil, like the war on terror, fucking that guy ruined the perception of America, which is the last bastion of freedom. We are not even 100 years removed from the fucking unbelievable, just unfucking conceivable, not conceivable. You cannot fucking consider the human value and human cost of 100 million dead souls. And unlike Hitler killing 4 to 6 million with gas and shooting people in the head while starving or relocating or otherwise destroying the lives of another 4 to fucking 6 million people on top of that, take socialism, which literally starved to fucking death, just the specific cause of death, over 40 million people. And through genocide, through murder, through gulagging and fucking slowly destroying the lives of people and bringing them into poverty, disease, and then eventual death, and the eradication of human lives of another 60 million people. You can't even think of the lives of 100 people. There's a specific social principle that talks about how many people you can have a real concern of and a real understanding of the lives of. It's a certain number, and it's estimated to be, I think, around 115. There's somewhere around 100 people that you can keep track of, that you can give a fuck about, that you can love beyond just the general species-wide kinship for humanity. That's the most people you can give a fuck about. Multiply that number by 1 million. That's multiply 100 by 100. That's fucking 10,000. Then multiply that by 10, that's 100,000. Multiply that by 10, that's 1,000,000. Multiply that by 10, that's 10 million people. Multiply that by 10, that's 100 million people. You can't get step 1 out of 1 billion of thinking about the human cost, the amount of unbridled suffering that fucking organization has caused, and the entire left wing of the West, who is supposed to be fucking concerned with what is true and what is productive and what is best for everyone, thinks that what is best for everyone is the fucking system of governance that killed a literally, and I do mean literally, and I do mean literally, an unthinkable amount of human lives. Unthinkable. Unbelievable. Inconceivable amount of human fucking lives. Think about how much you give a shit about yourself and then multiply that by 100 million. And you wonder why I call the left evil. They want to tell you what you can and can't buy, what you can and can't say, who you can and can't fuck, who you can and can't talk to, what you can and can't wear, what you can and can't fucking sell, what you can and can't play, what you can and can't watch, what you can and can't think, what you can and can't talk amongst in your private moments about, let alone talk on a stage in front of the populace about, what you can and can't throw to strangers throughout the anonymous internet, what you can and can't fucking, where you can and can't travel, where you can't, everything. They want to police every facet of culture. They want to tell you what you can eat. I'm sorry, you're too white to eat a fucking taco. That's cultural appropriation. I can't. I can't tolerate this. I will not tolerate this. So somebody out there has got a peaceable solution about how to convince these heavily indoctrinated religious zealots. So many of these so-called progressives reject religion because it's bad for LGBT people and minorities, and religion was used to justify a lot of atrocities throughout the world. And I'm like, yeah, you're right, progressive fucking retard. But you are a worshiper of the religion of progressivism, and progressivism is poised to torment the fucking world, including lesbians, including gay people, including bisexuals, and trans, and fucking weird people, or you know, all these people who want to emulate the oppressed nature of LGBT, who they call themselves queer, because they literally appropriated this term from the gay people. No, queer doesn't mean gay. Queer means a fucking progressive fucking asshole, who is a hipster fucking douche, who rejects societal norms only because he views all norms as bad because they're norms, which is a retarded, fucking delusional cultist way of thinking, and is emblematic of the rest of the entire progressive left, who says, borders, fuck those, rules, fuck those, rights, fuck those, freedom, fuck freedom. The left, who says, oh, you know why I'm a leftist? Because I'm against racism. There's nothing more racist than a leftist. They hate and love and think any emotion about any person based on the prejudice due to the color of their fucking skin. There is nothing more racist than a progressive. Nothing, not even a neo-fuck Nazi, is as racist as a progressive. You want to know why? We'll end with this, because I know I've been going on for a long time. You want to know why nothing is more racist than a progressive? Because a progressive can look at a white man, and this white man is also a progressive. This white man is ashamed of his genitalia. This white man is ashamed of the color of his skin. This white man spends a significant amount of his free time declaring to other human beings through the act of virtue signaling, I hate myself because of my genitalia. I hate myself because of my skin. And I hate everybody who shares my skin color and my genitalia. And the progressive left will look at this cuck, this Judas, this traitor, this house nigger of a person and say, well, it's good that you're a progressive like me, but you're a fucking fifth-class citizen, you piece of shit, and you better lick my boots, because there's nothing you'll ever do about your genitalia. There's nothing you'll ever do about your skin, and there's nothing you'll ever do about the history of your country of origin. Meanwhile, I have personally known a lot of balls-to-the-wall, classic racists of the, I'm an Alabama nigga and I want to be free, like the classic douchebag southern racists who will get along with Mexicans, they can get along with Jews, and they can get along with black people, as long as these three groups that this white southern racist normally hates will admit that, oh yeah, I understand that I am black. However, I hate the predominant prevailing culture of other black people. And you know what? That fucking racist skinhead will pat that black guy on the back and say, good work. What you're doing is for the betterment of everybody. You know, he believes that it's not in his best interest, even though he hates all black people, to discriminate against this black person who came forward with their intentions, with their character, their personality as, I hate other people like me, or I hate the predominant prevailing culture of other people who look like me. I'm not like them. And the fucking white southern racists will say, you're one of the good ones. Meanwhile, the progressives will look at this white guy who fucking will get on his knees, deep throat, and gargle the cum and fondle the balls of progressivism, do everything he can, including physically harming himself in shame. And the progressives will say, there's nothing you can do to absolve yourself of the arbitrary physical characteristics of what you are. So, progressives are worse than Nazis. Progressives are worse than skinheads. Progressives are worse than fascists and ethno-nationalists. In fact, progressives literally fucking are ethno-nationalistic fascists. They are the alt-right, or alt-left, I guess in this case. They literally are. They are not in any way better, and in fact are demonstrably worse than the boogeymen under the bed. That's why the left is evil. Thanks for listening to my TED Talk, you piece of shit.